welcome back to the rationalinvestor.com Broiler Chicken Show. Trade your trading plans, don't take too much risk on any one trade, and just let yourself get rich. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the rationalinvestor.com's weekend show. This is our Broiler Chicken Show. Buck. Man, just the screwiest time. Not only around TRI, but I'm like noticing like right across society, the way people are interacting. I mean, just everything is just absolutely effed right now. And the only thing I can chalk it up to is this damn eclipse window here. Be curious to see how all of you are doing through this eclipse. You know, one thing I noticed was that when I was talking to the team recently about sleep, everybody was saying they're having just absolutely horrible sleeps right now. And it was interesting this morning, unfortunately, you know, I actually like to do this show as a complement to our level 1 program. You know, bless his heart, unfortunately, Grimm's family is going through a tough time right now. So understandable. He was away today. I tried to fill in. I couldn't get anything to work. I couldn't get YouTube to work. Couldn't get half of the charts to work. I don't know whether there was like 3 students from the level 1 program that turned up. I couldn't do a actual video for the site. Really, the only reason why we have this video here going right now is because Chris is a fucking boss, and at least he can stay in front of all this shit. I'm just terrible at this stuff. So my apologies, level 1ers. I tried to step in and fill the void for you there this morning, but yeah, the few people that did show up, we had a nice little chat with them, answered some of the questions that were posted in the group document, but I couldn't record it. I couldn't figure out how to do it. And I mean, you can see how late we've got this thing going here. And, you know, it really sucks, but I didn't really have that good of a day with Liam on Thursday on his birthday. Too bad, his birthday of all days. But, you know, unfortunately with autism, if you ever live that world, if you actually break your regular routine, that really, really throws them off. And so in a weird sort of way, trying to celebrate Liam's birthday, doing things like going out for special meals and, you know, doing things like that aren't out of what he's expecting to happen in his regular routine, that throws him off. And since then, Thursday afternoon, when I dropped him off, he was in a pretty heightened state. Man, I've just been an absolute mess since then. So, I mean, just look at me, right? I mean, fuck, I look like a piece of shit. So anyway, there you go. Just look at me. But you're not here for good looks. You're here for charts, right? So I'm going to try my best to give you guys some value, but I don't even know if I can even show up here today. I'll try my best. That's all I can say, but I can definitely tell you right off the bat here today, I am not in a good space right now. But if anything, that's the one thing I like about me, and maybe you like it, maybe you don't, but I'm gonna give you this straight goods. If I say I'm having a bad day, I'm gonna be like, I'm having a fucking bad day, man. So, and I was even you know, sort of half joking with Chris. Chris is off fucking trading with Top Step now, having a good old time. And I'm looking at I can't believe how many fucking TRIers we've sent to Top Step. I mean, it's ridiculous every day. Hey, look at me. I just got funded at Top Step. Hey, Brian, you're so awesome for teaching me. Yeah, fucking A. And I'm sitting here going, I can't even get my shit together and get back trading with him. I haven't taken a trade over at Top Step in probably like, I don't know, maybe a month or so. I mean, the account's just sitting there. Yeah, it's up a grand or so, but it's just one thing after another. I'm just in the weirdest place right now. So, anyway, we all have our journeys. If anything, this is the point of journaling. And half of what I do here with these with videos with all of you is like a verbal journaling. I don't know. But I'm not going to blow smoke up your asses. Life ain't easy. Life's difficult. And we all go through our difficult times. And right now, I'm in a little bit of a difficult time. And I can empathize with each and every one of you. You know, if you're finding that life is pretty stressful right now, you're not alone. I see it right across the board. And the sad part about it is these stupid bankster cocksuckers are the ones that are directly responsible for all of this. Um, you know, I would actually argue that these people have a fiduciary responsibility. They know history. They know the frailties of this human species and why they don't take a benevolent, if you will, look at this and instead actually set us up for these horrific failures once every 80 years, where we get to the point as a species where the only recourse we have is to literally go on mass murdering rampages. I think World War II, obviously, I think it was 45 million human beings were murdered. Um, that 1940s, that was the same Great Reset window that we're in right now. 1860s was the largest bloodshed of a civil war on record at that point. Something like a 500,000 Americans murdered each other as a direct result of the infighting and the great resetting of the society through that 1860s window. 1780s, of course, French Revolution, American Revolution, directly attributable at the exact same time. Someone made a comment. They were touring one of the Rothschilds' estates and said, kings can't even afford this kind of places. This must be owned by a Rothschild. So I don't know whether our species is ever going to learn from this. I think, in a weird sort of way, I feel as though my life mission is to try and right the wrongs of all of this, because unfortunately, I do fancy myself a student of history. And I know a lot of people in our society, they just don't know their species history, and it's kept silent from them. And I think, unfortunately, very nefarious purposes. And the sad thing is that it's ironic, politically, right? Mr. Trump here is trying to get reelected, and it's shocking when I see on social media. I can't even find the entire sort of weekend. I just sat, I guess yesterday, because I don't really do anything else with my life. Um, sat there listening to people talk about how incredibly expensive everything is, and how there's just no money. Nobody has any money. And the hyperinflation is just whatever people did have in their pocketbooks, and it's gone. Um, so I can understand actually why sort of small business is floundering here, because the hyperinflation has just literally sucked every last penny out of people's pockets. And you know, that's it's all going straight into these bankster cocksuckers' pockets. So thank you, Joey Diamonds of the world. You have continued the slavery. And interesting how we don't hear from Klaus anymore, eh? Now that the great resetting has happened, he's going to probably become very yesterday's news. Anyway, so a little bit of a sanguine mood here today. Like I said, it's going to be tough for me to actually See whether I can actually make a positive difference in your guys' lives today. But what the hell, I'll try my best. We did start the video late because, like I said, I had a whole bunch of troubles today here. Suppose we can just do a very quick summary of Bitcoin. In fact, actually, we started so late here today that Chris just threw last week's summary into the newsletter here today. We did get off a half decent win there at the beginning of the week in a big Chinese tech stock. How ironic, eh? China's now going to fucking be a bull market. Well, that makes sense. This world. And I was musing with this site people. I don't know whether Winnie the Pooh is even still alive or not. But you don't hear too much out of him these days. Anyway. So what can you make out of the corn? I guess there's a couple perspectives. First off, unfortunately, we've been basically just going sideways now here for half a year. And as I've said repeatedly to people, this is where Mr. Fink floated his ETFs. And I don't think he has any interest whatsoever in seeing those ETFs underwater. And more importantly, he conned all of Wall Street to buy into this Bitcoin story. And so as a result, he doesn't want any of them to be underwater on their Bitcoin investments, at least for sort of the initial period, until they actually start shilling it to the public, and the public has completely bought all of that paper off of them at substantial profits. I don't think that this Bitcoin story is going down anytime soon. Having said that, as good technicians, what we really want to see is we want to see this level traded to, which is just the natural 50% retracement of the most recent move. And all this is just let's sort of, rebalance things, just, remove the overboughtness, remove the oversoldness. Regardless, your knee-jerk rule of thumb is the 50% rule. So I'm a little surprised that we haven't traded down to that. But I have noticed that each time we do dip, we are making lower highs and lower lows. But every time we go into sort of panic mode, the selling just stops. And I also think, too, to a certain degree, that these assets, of course, have been securitized. So what ends up happening is you use the stock market and the options on stocks, in this case ETFs, to set floors and ceilings. And then you use the futures markets to push price around. If you start seeing it head into floors where you don't want it, you can always jump in and buy a whole bunch of futures contracts. And conversely, if price starts getting too uppy, you can always zip into the futures markets and sell a bunch of contracts, sort of sit on the market to quell demand. And I think that this asset now is entirely manipulated. It's the way Wall Street works. Get used to it. Do you find it fascinating that a guy like Fink, anytime he starts to hear or see sort of technical warning signs, and he did it just a week or so ago, and you can see, lower highs and lower lows, things were looking a little bit dangerous there a couple of weeks ago. He comes out and he says things like, well, Bitcoin is your hedge in this uncertain world, and it's a great diversification tool, and it has a place in everybody's portfolios. I've yet to actually ever hear him talk about value when it comes to Bitcoin. I've never heard him say a single word about value. And I have to say, I'm a little disappointed. It almost feels to me like Wall Street, in a weird sort of way, if you're going to use the kids that are on CNBC, and frankly speaking, I think most of the people that are on there are kids. They've watched the market through the 2000s and 2010s and all that. But the people that I used to watch on that broadcast back in last century, they're all gone. They're all dead. They're all old people. They all died. In fact, actually, I don't know. Is Louis Rukeyser still alive? Somebody Google that. Has Louis passed? Um, but all the guys that I used to love on that broadcast that were so irreverent because they were stock traders by nature. I mean, fuck off, corporations, you stupid assholes. In fact, you could argue CNBC and all of that started to go downhill the day that General Electric bought out NBC, and in essence, the journalistic integrity of the all of that just disappeared. And what was so sad about that was that General Electric was it was one of the bluest of all blue chips. Then Jack Welch came in and he started up this whole financing thing because of course he knew about the structural bull market and the bond market. And he leveraged the fuck out of GE to become like a financial lending institution. And of course, in 2008, that blew up. And GE just got absolutely destroyed following. They completely restructured the company, got rid of all that financial shit, and then reissued the stock. And the stock went zooming back up. Now it's like hundreds of dollars a share again. But the point being that as long as Jack Welch owned CNBC, then there was no way in hell CNBC was ever going to mention the horrific, fraudulent nature of General Electric's financing business. And, you know, we used to make a joke back in, I remember in 2005, we used to always joke that General Motors was a bank, and they had this funny little side business of selling automobiles. So that's how twisted everything got. And as I said, GE was another example of that. You don't even hear about General Electric anymore. Anyway, but I don't even know who owns CNBC. But whenever I watch that station now, I mean, it's a shadow of its former glory. It used to be so much fun. So especially hanging out with like Ted David, that guy was great. And who was the old man? God, I can't even remember his name now. He used to always call Microsoft Mr. Softy, and it used to just piss Bill Gates off to no end. And I remember I had a sales manager back then, and I used to call Microsoft Mr. Softy, and it used to piss him off to no end. And I was like, I don't give a fuck what you think. You're a stupid sales manager. What the hell do you matter? I'm talking to my clients. Go fuck yourself. Anyway, that's the kind of mood that I'm in today, so I better be careful. In fact, I even thought maybe, you know, I probably it probably it's too late now, but it probably would have been a good idea to maybe reschedule Lily today. I sure hope I don't get into a fist fight today. I can just feel it coming. But anyway, we'll see. So looking at this weekly Bitcoin chart, you know, I mean, what do you make out of this? Problem is we're at the top end of the trading range. So are you coming in and buying value here? I don't think so. Could this thing break out and just fucking rock and roll and head higher? Sure. I mean, this is I've told you people before, our job as traders is not to predict the future. I don't know what the hell this thing's gonna do. I'll tell you what, it's either gonna do this, it's gonna do this, or it's gonna do this. All right, there you go. You're done. You could probably leave now. I've given you all the value. You could probably get out of this broadcast. Yeah, the problem here is this actually a trade setup? I don't think so. This doesn't look like this certainly isn't a trade setup that I would ever teach at TRI. I could tell you that absolutely. Um, there just isn't anything here for me to get excited about, which is kind of sad. And what I'm worried about is, I guess about a month or so ago, it was the end of August, beginning of September. Wall Street was just coming back from their summer break. And we actually did have a half decent buy signals down here, especially into this tail. Probably the best thing to do is actually just load up a brand new chart. You can't even see this thing anymore. Geez. You have to give it a name. Okay, we will call this new chart. I'll give you just my 2 cents. That and 50 cents worth will buy you a cup of coffee 40 years ago. Now, thanks to Klaus and the Great Reset, now that's 10 times that price. I think you could actually realistically say nowadays the expression should be that and 50 cents will buy you a cup of coffee. Nope. That and $5 will buy you a cup of coffee. That's how fucked our world is now. Thank you very much, Bankster Crooks. Business as usual. And of course, as always, I think it's a good idea if you ever do want to open your eyes and actually really learn about how this world really works. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't want to learn this story, and it makes their head hurt. But if you want to understand how absolutely upside down this world is and how crooked it is, just watch that video. If you can watch and understand 3.5 hours of what he says here, I guarantee your life will never be the same again. And unfortunately, you have a bitter attitude like Brian has because you realize how crooked this whole fucking thing is. But anyway, back to our story. And I might even argue that half of the reason why Bitcoin was built was because there were people in the United States government at the time that knew exactly what was about to happen. And they wanted to create an asset that would completely offset them being fucked by Klaus and the gang. And that is, in essence, the fucking right there. You see right here, we had a nice big wad of Vaseline shoved up our asses. And wow, that has turned out to be a really nice ride. So, hats off to any of you. There's this funny guy, Da Vinci, out there who just ass backwards fell into Bitcoin, mining Bitcoin at the beginning. And of course, now he's an absolute genius. And what's so ironic is it just goes to show that people just don't understand this idea of money management. Every fucking time we go into one of these peaks, the guy always comes out on social media and says, "This time it's different. You got to get in there and buy." And every time he gets absolutely embarrassed to the point where I saw a video 6 months ago and he did this, and then a video, same thing. This time it's different. Buy, you'll make tons of money. Then we got to the point where I saw a video he made recently here where he's like, "I don't know where Bitcoin's going. Just buy it." It's so funny. Oh, stupid world. So, I mean, you could be a Bitcoin crypto enthusiast and all that kind of fun stuff. And ironically enough, this is a great analogy where, it's kind of like Tesla. If you jumped on the Tesla circle jerk at the beginning of it, you didn't really know how to trade, or you didn't have to know how to trade. You just bought it. You become a fucking Alan minion, and you just long for the ride. A lot of people have gotten very, very wealthy just getting in on the corn at the bottom, holding on, and don't touch it, and just keep riding the damn thing. And frankly speaking, I don't see any change to anything that prompted the creation of Bitcoin. Certainly don't see the internet slowing down. If anything, it looks to me like the powers that be want this world to move more interneting, not less. And sadly, who knows what the hell this human species is actually going to look like when this internet is finally fully built out. I've told all of you, and I've said this for the past 10 years, nothing has changed, that my hunch is by the end of all of this, every single human being on planet Earth that is, part of the system And since, everything's being digitized and the internet is basically global now, it probably means every single human being on the planet will be on the blockchain, and every single thing you do in your life will be recorded on the blockchain and, of course, taxed. So you pull that puppy's tail when you're 6 years old, that will be recorded. And when you're 35 and you want to go get a mortgage, that will be held against you. And you might even have to pay a special puppy tail pulling tax penalty. Wouldn't surprise me one fucking bit. And of course, all of that goes straight into the Rothschilds' pockets. Human slavery, mwah, absolutely perfect scenario for them. Anyway, again, Brian being happy-go-lucky. Not quite sure why I have that date reference on there. Anyway, there's any number of things that can happen here. As I had said earlier, I mean, at the very least, the one thing I liked about these kind of scenarios was, I like to teach people this concept of reload zones. So, for God's sakes, don't chase that, but just let the market settle back down. And if you just put yourself on a dollar cost averaging plan in reload zones, you would have done perfectly fine. Same thing here. Maybe you adjust the bottom of your reload zone to most recent floor. Could be. It's up to you. Put yourself on a dollar cost averaging plan in reload zones. You do fine. So when I look at an image like this, well, there certainly ain't no reload zone there. And if anything, what this tells me when I look at an image like that is, at the very least, we want to see things like 38.2s that sort of tell us whether this is still a bull or whether it's a bear. So, like, for instance, if we look back here, it was probably a pretty good example. Good old Colin and his pump chaser zone. We even have like a name. If I ever write a book, the great part about teaching this education program over the past 10 years is I got lots of fun little names for all of these ideas. So, in this case, we pulled back to 38.2, 50%. And frankly speaking, I don't think that that's a top. And sure enough, we actually had to push up to new highs. Then you notice we came back to 38.2, 50% and lost that. And okay, now we have finally officially corrected. So when I look at an image like this, I don't actually see a correction. What I see is this, to me, this still looks like it's all part of one move, which, I mean, I do find it amusing because there are some people on the site that listening to social media influencers, about a month or maybe a couple months ago, all the talk is this is a bull flag. And oh my God, if this is a bull flag, then wow, are we ever going higher? So that's there to there, something along those lines. Boom, 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 boom. And actually, it's interesting because Tyler over at Crypto Chico, and I actually did see that they're starting to get up and running again and doing videos and touting 20 different names that'll go 100x. So, oh boy, get ready, folks. Here comes the next leg. I have seen a lot of people posting this on the site. The only problem I have with this is I actually don't think that that's correct. If you actually draw the lines off of the actual levels, then what you see is what's actually called an expanding wedge. So if we go off of that line and then go off of that line, you can see this slope, and then we'll go off of that, and then we'll go off of that. Move it up there so you can see it a little bit. You can see this is expanding. This isn't a classic bull flag. Flag is basically a parallel range. So the fact that we actually made an expanding trend line here, this is dangerous because really there's a couple things going on here, right? First off, of course, what are we supposed to think if we ever see the market smiling at us? So we do know that the bear is very much alive and very much active. Um, and at the same time, too, ironically enough, if we change this to a line chart, I mean, are there any W's here yet? This was a new low that was made off of that. And it's right in the face of a big fat M there. So we got an M, we got an M. I mean, it would have been nice had this low been higher than this low. And then, maybe we got the makings of a W here. For, Brian, I mean, this is, and this is half of being a good technician is actually just trying to weed out the confusing messages and just keep it as simple as possible. As simple as possible is just, W's are bullish and M's are bearish. I mean, that's keep it as simple as possible. So when you start seeing this kind of ME action up in top here and you don't see any W's, well, at the very least, maybe just cool your jets. We're stuck in a range. But notice how we started a W and then breaking out through the top here, we could start maybe thinking about W's like that. It's not the best example, but the W's coming out here were definitely something to get us excited. So what I really need for me to turn bullish is, can I get some sort of pullback and then a break to new highs where we actually start carving out higher lows and higher highs? I just don't see that right now. So until I actually start seeing W's, it could even just be just a cute little consolidation. Like I said, it can be something as simple as that, but just some sort of W action here. And the worst part about all this is that we know in the public that everything here with regard to this is being completely manipulated. And ironically enough, I don't think it has anything to do with Bitcoin itself. It has everything to do with this big political situation that's coming down the pike here. And the very suspect behavior by the central banksters heading into this political event. I look at this kind of image right here. This is the US 2-year Treasury bond. They took away the Eurodollar market proxy, which was an absolute fantastic way to see what the market is thinking about short-term interest rates. And heaven forbid we actually have a market-based, supply and demand-based asset that's going to tell us what the actual natural interest rate environment is. No, we got to. The only way that we can track short-term interest rates is by these, these cartels that get together and tell us what short-term interest rates are, which I think everybody has finally come to the conclusion that these data sets are just stunningly being manipulated. There's one guy here in Canadian social media. He always goes on about the CP lie. I hate to say it, but I actually think I agree with him. You go out into society right now, and it's laughable if you actually look at like the government produced data of what inflation is and what's actually going on. Like I said, cup of coffee. Ironically enough, when I was Chris's age, cup of coffee was like 50 cents. Literally. I mean, and that was expensive coffee. And then, what pisses you off is Starbucks was actually the company that really broke that model. You used to be able to go to any coffee shop anywhere, get a half decent cup of coffee for like 50 cents. And then Starbucks comes out with all their mocha shitheads. And, now it's like $5, $6, $7, $8, $9, $10 for a fucking cup of coffee. Ridiculous. Anyway, but the point here is this image right now, this is about the best market-based proxy we have for a short term, or the shorter duration of the yield curve. This is the 2-year US Treasury. So, way back when we used to have the 90-day T-bill market, then the United States of America went bankrupt. Oh, by the way, I don't know whether you all realize the United States and all of these Western countries are bankrupt. Why do you think that we are mysteriously having our populations absolutely exploding higher here, even though nobody here in any of these countries has said, yes, this is what we want. I haven't heard a single person say that, yeah, Canada, we would like to have our population grow by 50% in under a decade. What? Who the fuck does that? Oh, I know. Somebody is working for some third party over probably even off the fucking planet that wants to just keep the banking fiasco bullshit business model going. Remember, they make their profits on percentages. So they don't give a shit what the underlying purchasing power of the currency is and the standard of living of the people that were born that previous cycle. They don't care about that. They don't give a shit at all. And that's the biggest insult about, how Jerome stands there on the stage and the last fucking sentence he says in all of these damn press conferences is, "Oh, our number one job is to work for the how does the line go? In service of our country." But it's like the biggest insult possible. The fact that they blatantly lie to our faces like that, just every single time. And there's not a damn thing any of us can do about it. Anyway, this image right here, this is the 2-year US Treasury bond. And if interest rates are going down, then this chart should be going up. Is this chart going up right now? Kind of looks to me like it's just stuck, going sideways. And if anything, just recently, and keep in mind, these idiots went and just cut interest rates where? Right here. What a bond price has done here since they went and did like a 50 basis point interest rate cut. Bond prices have gone down, which means interest rates are going up. Do they have any business for cutting short-term interest rates? No. Well, why did they? Oh, well, because they want to keep something else pointed up as we head into a very important political event, this upcoming election. And indeed, the moment they cut interest rates, you notice stock market seems to be very happy. And, this is what I meant by Bitcoin is heading back up near the top end of its range, but I actually don't think it has anything to do with Bitcoin whatsoever. It has everything to do with the way that they're finessing this economy and this society, trying to make damn sure that the people that they want to stay in power and remain in power, stay in power and remain in power. Which is interesting because that's half the reason why Bitcoin, I think, has done as well as it has. Is you could make the argument the only reason why Bitcoin is like $50, $60, $70,000 here right now is because the we'll even call it the worthless money. The only reason why this thing is as expensive as it is because if we come in here and say, well, what have they done to the M2 money supply, which is what we price all these damn things in. I mean, it's just so basic and it's embarrassing. I mean, where did Bitcoin get its start? So Bitcoin got its start right here, right? I mean, look at what's happened. This is nuts. If we go on a percentage basis, let's start our study basically at the beginning of Bitcoin's life, something like that. So you can see that the money supply itself has more than doubled, quadrupled, and I don't know whether there's any stopping this. It's absolutely runaway. We all sort of lived through that kind of comfortable period over the past couple of years where they were like, okay, inflation's getting out of control. The socialists were just printing money like drunken fucking whores. They, guys like Stanley Druckenmiller, when you're destroying our country, you assholes. Why are you doing this? And I think that they got a bit of religion. And unfortunately, you can see, and Stanley's awfully quiet now. People aren't bitching and complaining as much. Yeah, but hey, there's W's. Look what's happening. So I would argue that they're printing, they're trying to they're cutting interest rates, which in essence, in a weird sort of way, is almost the same as printing money, because I mean we live in this absolutely insane world of debt. And unfortunately, what ends up happening is they actually lower interest rates and people go out and take more debt. And in my country, they're actually the government is actually trying to put price floors in assets like houses. They're actually trying to put a floor in Canadian houses where a single family home, the floor is now $1.5 million. Now, is that the house is worth $1.5 million? Or is it that this currency is just collapsing in value? And the house is just sitting there going, look, I'm a house. I'm not doing anything. I'm just sitting here minding my own business. And if you go and explode the amount of money that's in the system, well, the house says, look, I'm a house. Everything's relative. So my price of me has to go up. Yeah, it sucks, DDBB. I mean, and the problem is we get what, like 50 viewers. Isn't this hilarious? And I've been doing this for 10 fucking years. The same message, just I mean, ironically enough, if I was a trader, well, shouldn't I be teaching you all that we should want to go long fucking communism right there? And I mean, how did that trade work out? This is terrible. So anyway, this is a very interesting inflection point that's coming up here, folks. Very, very interesting inflection point. All right. The big event is right here. Oh, can't even see it. Right there. So at least I think I did that right. Yeah, November. I have no idea how this is going to go. I mean, does anybody? From what I understand, I don't know whether you've ever listened to Cami talk, but I actually learned this over this weekend. I didn't realize this. Do you know that Cami actually is probably more Canadian than American? Did you know that? I find that fascinating. Turns out that actually she spent most of her formative years in China. So isn't that interesting how, we have penetrated the cabinets? And I don't know whether you've ever listened to Cami, but she actually like literally recites Communist Manifesto, Karl Marx doctrine. I don't know if the right word is phraseology, the actual terms that he actually writes in his book. Like there was a really interesting video on YouTube with I think he was on I don't know, is Joe Rogan or that other interviewer guy who's very serious, Mac Lex Freeman, something like that, very serious. Eric something or other. And he just looks like he has a big fucking toupee, which is so funny. I don't know. Somebody should send him a memo. Dude, that hair just it doesn't look appropriate. And actually I've seen about 3 or 4 guys on social media. They're old as shit. There's this one 70, 80-year-old guy on social media, and he looks like everything about him looks like he's 70, 80 years old. And then he has this big bouffant, and you're like, come on, dude. Who are you fooling? I mean, if anything, you see me, I'm straight goods. I don't, no bullshit here. What you see is what you get. But anyway, he was pointing out, and I did find it fascinating, that it turns out that Cami actually has a lot of connections to China. And honestly, if I wouldn't have thought like actual words conspiracy, but listening to her, and I don't mean to be rude. I mean, I've seen lots of men that are just as stupid. And if you ever watch those Baywatch or whatever it is shows, and you ever seen any of the bodybuilding shows, I mean, these men are dumb as fucking fence posts. Half of them, I mean, you can just hear it. And I would call them bimbos too. I mean, just absolutely brain dead people, but they've got a built body, so they're obviously winners in life. But I would call her a bimbo too. Listening to her talk, it's just like, oh my goodness, this person how did this person actually get to this position of authority? And oh, by the way, mayor of San Francisco, I think we know how she got into her position of authority and how she literally worked her way up the food chain. Yeah, sad. But anyway, so it scares me when you actually listen to her talk. It's like, holy shit. Yeah, actually, that's what I'm hoping for, DDBB, to be perfectly honest with you. I've done my job. Actually, it's time for me to go. I really would like Spirit to give me permission to go. I really don't like this life. But, that's just, again, got to try and stay positive, I suppose. Somehow I got to keep my shit together for Liam. Tell you, that's the hardest part about all of this. Just wasn't for him, I don't know if I'd even be here anymore, to be honest with you. But I hope that's what happens. I hope what happens is I pass, I have a relatively positive legacy, and all the bazillion hours of videos that we've uploaded and are scattered around the internet. Hopefully, the message sticks, and maybe like 500 years from now, you're all saying, yeah, that Beamish, Beamish this, Beamish that, Beamish this, Beamish that. Who knows? And the good part about it is the stuff I'm trying to teach you, it works. It really does. It's just we're battling a massive uphill battle. We are like literally David and Goliath here. And Jerry and all of the banksters are Goliath. And the deck is just staggeringly stacked against us. It's a difficult, difficult time to be a human right now. I empathize with all of you. And I see it all around our society. 10 years ago, you walked around this society, people were just so happy go lucky. I go around this society today, and literally this place could turn into a civil war just like that. And what's so funny is before JoJo passed away, she used to always say that she figured a race war was coming. And I can see it now. I can absolutely see that this could turn into an absolute racial fucking shit show in this China to here, because it's just so staggeringly disconnected. But oh well, just roll with the punches as we go. So I mean, if you want to actually learn the rules of the game, I was trying to tell somebody this recently. If you want to learn the rules of the game, Brian will teach you the rules of the game. And I think we have enough people at TRI who have been taught the rules of the game to do well. And the message should continue. I think we got enough people out there who understand buy against lows, sell against highs, W's are bullish, M's are bearish. Don't take too much risk. Don't be greedy. When the market affords you the opportunity, pay yourself, de-risk yourself as fast as possible, and just play with the market's money. That's the ultimate position of strength. So in a weird sort of way, and you don't even realize this, but actually Jim and Liz, and I think that's Liz that I'm talking to there, you are now an emissary of good behavior. Kind of like Liz, I hope you realize what Adam has done for you. Now you have to go and do for all of your network of friends and all of your associates. That's the only way that this shit really goes viral. DDBB. I know you've got a head on your shoulders now, if that is your real name, Bart Simpson. And your job, like over in Romania, um, your job, Eddie, I saw you there. Love Eddie, such a beautiful spirit. Your job over there in Romania, along with Rares, and I don't know, I guess there's a few other Romanians over there. But your job is to go and influence the people in your lives, Andrew, right? Goss Bettig 88, if that is your real name. What does that say? Beated by Daisy. Oh, is that Ed? Anyway. Hey, Constantine. Yeah, you too. And D. I'm not sure who you are, D. Um, but my job was to teach you all. Now you know how to play the game. You know the rules. And I mean, I hope you guys can all appreciate how difficult it is to fight against the system here. Because not only do we have to fight against the bankster crooks, we also have to fight against the stupid greed of the human species. Three arrows capital, all those kind of people. So, all right. Anyway, getting back on topic. Sorry about that, folks. Like I said, it might be tough for me to actually give you a lot of value here today. I can't justify coming in and pounding the table and saying you buy Bitcoin here, you're going to make $1 million. I can't. And this, unfortunately, this is a scenario right here, right now. I can't even really give you a clear idea of what I think is going to happen. And even if I do give you an idea of what I think is going to happen, there's absolutely no guarantees in any of Buddy's opinions. In fact, DDBB, you'll be a good person to answer this, but any of you watching this right now, you can answer this. What do I think of people's opinions of what's going to happen in the marketplace, including Brian's? Chris, you tell me. Seems to be a good time for Chris to chime in here, just so you know that I'm not here by myself. What is anybody's opinion in the marketplace worth?
Absolutely positively zero.
Yeah, sucks. And the irony of it all is that if a whole bunch of people think that one thing's going to happen, the irony of stupid capitalism is probably the exact opposite is going to happen. Down at the bottom of the market, if I came to you and talked to you, I guarantee you everybody would be saying Bitcoin's going to zero. And then at the very top of the market, we all remember Gucci sweater wearers. They haven't got a fucking clue what they're doing, but they're coming in and selling courses on how to invest in Bitcoin. And, if anything, you got to feel good for the guy because at least he hasn't got, he doesn't have a contract out on his head. If this thing had corrected in any of this kind of fashion, any of those people that bought that silly course off of him would probably think, it's probably to get some just desserts. Let's go and whack this guy. And sadly, people, you have to understand this. In this world, you can lose your life very quickly over something as silly as money. Disgusting, this species. So, if anything, I kind of like to fly under the radar screen in a weird sort of way. Be relatively quiet. I'm sitting on some assets, so I don't really have to worry too much. No, Da Vinci wasn't the Gucci sweater wearer, but he's definitely out of the same part of the world. And that's what really bothers me about this world right now is there is one part of the world that is like absolutely over the top boisterous right now. And they historically, notoriously are troublemakers, for lack of a better term. But I don't think Da Vinci's going to sell a course on trading, to be honest with you. I think he knows better not to do that. But anyway, I really shouldn't name names here. It's just I was really disappointed in that guy because he could, we even created a setup while he was a student at TRI that works very well. But he seems to have just completely disregarded all of that work that we did a decade ago. Anyway, I shouldn't beat up on him. I'm sure there's plenty of things you guys could poke fun at about me. I just really don't like the shill, right? We only hear from these guys at the top of the market, and they tell you to go buy Bitcoin there. Why weren't they barking like crazy down here? Oh, I know why. Because nobody was really interested then, and everybody's interested in here. You go and tell them to buy, and of course that sells newsletters and site subscriptions and all that bullshit, right? Anyway, so back to our conversation here. I don't have a setup. I don't have anything to work with here. I would just simply say, and as I had said earlier, if I saw price back at or near 50% levels, then at the very least I could say, well, this market has cleaned itself up. It is technically healthy. I might actually argue that this market has not corrected yet. And all we've done here is just consolidated. That's it. There's nothing else. And that's the conversation. At the same time, too, what concerns me is, all we're doing is just rallying back up to the top end of the range. So it's not like, this is some sort of great new bull market. What concerns me is that these assets are moving up because of some sort of outside influence on the market and not the actual fundamentals of people accepting and adopting Bitcoin and it becoming like a world dominant asset. If anything, the advent of these ETFs has actually undermined that fundamental development of the Bitcoin space. Like I said, if you ever listen to Fink, he never talks about what the value of these things is. Never, ever, ever, ever talks about the value of what a Bitcoin is. All he's doing is shilling pie in the sky. It is your, what's that? He's distracting me over here. What the hell are you saying? Miss you, stupid bread dude. What? Eddie, you're working too much on the damn house. You got to take a break. Miss you. Hey, did you know, Eddie, Vaca? Have you seen Vaca coin? And actually, here's another analogy that maybe we're getting near the end of this move. We actually put on, this is hilarious. We put on the gold-plated Vaca trade. Do you remember the gold-plated Vaca trade? The gold-plated Vaca trade was, we went and bought the bottom of the UST markets. But this is what drives you crazy about this, though. Eddie, a guy on the site we like to call, actually, Chris was the one who referred him to our community, wasn't he? Good old Zugi, right? I think Chris, maybe it was Zugi that told Chris to come.
Yeah, it was the other way around.
Was
Zoom
it? Okay.
was the reference for me. Yeah.
Anyway, so we went and bought a bunch of this, and we said, look, if this thing ever gets respectable, and the irony of it all is, look how fucking far this thing could go. This is nuts. So we went in just like the people that we are. This is very typical Brian, nothing really out of the ordinary. When this thing started W out down here, we said, all right, we'll go. And Eddie still has my coins. And this is why he's like, well, I can't remember. I must have lost your coins in a boating accident, Brian. And actually, I found out another person might have lost some coins in a boating accident today. Oh, this crypto. It drives you crazy. But anyway, Eddie still has our gold-plated Vaca trade on his book. So I sure hope you're keeping tabs of that damn thing. But anyway, the damn thing moved up, and then I was like, well, should we maybe sell some, maybe take some profits? We bought down here. No, Brian, we're not selling until it's back up here, and we can all go buy gold-plated Vacas. We were all going to, remember, I think it was last cycle or the cycle before, the big thing at the very top of the market was these people in the Middle East. And this is the gluttony of the world that I absolutely hate, is these idiots sit there and they actually eat steaks that are gold plated. Like, give me a fucking break. What a waste of money. Now, the Anunnaki believe that actually if you eat there's a form of gold. If you actually distill gold down to its purest element, it turns into a white powder, which is kind of fascinating. And the Anunnaki were said to that that's actually why the human species was created. And it's really cool because down in South Africa, there was a gold mine, and the people who bought the mine, they actually kept digging down at the bottom of the mine, and they actually punched through a floor, and they opened up this massive cavern that was like literally like 100 feet wide, and it was perfectly circular. And that, they say, was actually one of the Anunnaki's gold mines from way back when. And human technology couldn't do what they did. And I remember that was back in the late 90s when you couldn't give gold away. And so people were talking lots about this kind of stuff. Nowadays, you hear any of that kind of talk? No, it's impossible to find any of that kind of talk. But anyway, the point being that some people believe that the Anunnaki actually came to Earth, genetically modified monkeys and shit to create us humans, and we were nothing more than a slave race to mine gold for them. And a lot of people actually still believe that that's even still the true to today. And it's kind of interesting if you go around and you actually say, well, okay, well, there's been a lot of gold mined. Where is all the gold? Well, it turns out Fort Knox is empty. Oh, where did all this gold go? It's got to have gone somewhere. So anyway, that's a conversation for another day. But the point of the matter here is, look what just happened on our Vaca coin. Can anybody tell me? And Liz, where's Liz? Like, this is the kind of shit that you, as an aspiring trader, you need to recognize. What time of frame chart are we looking at? There's your weekly price chart. What letter of the alphabet do we see coming in here? Does Brian tell you that there's a certain letter of the alphabet off of a certain time frame that maybe it's in your best interest to pay attention? Obviously, when I ask that kind of question, the answer is pretty obvious. And the irony of it all is that I couldn't convince the team to let some go on this pop. Now, Liz, if you do go and buy some of this, maybe Adam, you can help her out. I don't know. Jim as well. If this thing does pop, make damn sure that when it doubles in price, you sell half and you get your original capital back. Because my hunch is we're probably doing something like this again. So just be aware of that. Now, the cool part about this, remember, this is a really good analogy of de-risking yourself. Had you bought this W and these W's down here, you de-risk yourself here, and then you don't even really care what happens on the other side. Now, I might argue, you ready for this? If we can actually go take this high out, then we can actually start coming up with some half decent, excuse me, price objectives. What time is it? Oh, fuck. Well, geez, that time disappeared quick. Hope you enjoyed all of Brian's crazy rants there. But, there we go. I mean, look at these numbers. Woo-wee. Interesting. 1688 takes us right back to parity. Fascinating. And keep in mind, Mike Novogratz, he made a pretty damn big bet in on what's the Luna guy's name? He's such a doofus. I can see his face. I can't remember what his name is. Do Kwon. There is a lesson for everybody in this space. Don't get too fucking full of yourself. Because, you're going to start writing checks that you can't cash. Anyway, it would be, and oh God, the guy's going to be a fucking unbearable if this thing, but I don't think he's in control of this story anymore. But I do think that Mike Novogratz, remember, he got like the Luna tattoo on the side of his arm. And I think that he has basically made it his life mission that he's going to get his money back out of this son of a bitch. So we'll see what happens. But if you are a speculator, it's interesting. They always say, who can finish this expression over there on YouTube? The shit always rises what? M's are bullish and W's are bearish. No, I wouldn't say that. Be careful. Unless you're trading harmonics, but that's another conversation altogether. The shit always rises last. Very good, Adam. Very good, Constantine. So it is interesting that this piece of crap here is starting to finally lift again. Because remember, that was just about right at the very end of the shitcoin rally, right? Beginning of 2024. That's when Gucci sweater wearers were coming in and telling you to buy Bitcoin and crypto, and you tell me how's that gone for them, right? So the analogy that the shit always rises last, and this thing is now perking up, and we know that this huge political event here is coming up in less than a month. I guess it's about a month and a half time. Coincidence? I think not. If anything, looking at this price chart and looking at this price chart, it kind of looks like we're right here right now, eh? So we'll get the pop, then this thing will settle down for a couple weeks. Then we're going to get our last push probably into that election, and they're going to push things like the stock market and all the 401ks and all that. They're going to push them to the fucking roof. And it's going to be like, well, is your life any better? Look at your 401k. How you feeling? Cammy, so awesome. That just evil. It's not really a laugh. It's almost like a cackle that she does. Ugh. It's just, man. It drives me to distraction just thinking about these fucking morons. Anyway. Brian, can you take a look at ZCX? All right, well, I'll do you a favor here. ZCX. And then I really got to answer the questions. All right, there's nothing there. Okay, well, that was quick and easy. What do you want? Tell me what you want me to look at it. We'll head over to the AMA document, try and be a little bit more specific about what you want me to look. Where does it trade? Is it a stock? Is it crypto? What do you want me to look at it versus? Maybe we'll finish the show with that. All right, down here, today's questions. Actually, interesting. I tried to do a session with the students here today in the level 1, and I couldn't even get my shit together. I couldn't even get the damn recording going. So ironically enough, some of these questions were probably asked by the students, and I already answered them once, but let's see what we got here. All right, and my old eyes, let's maybe zoom in a bit here so I can actually see. All right, hi, Brian. Feels nostalgic you starting the crypto show again. Yeah, and with Ben. Isn't Ben the sweetest guy in the world? God, he's awesome. Turns out Ben actually was part of a death metal band. But I heard that, I couldn't believe it. Of all people to be in a death metal band. That was hilarious. Anyway, maybe on a future show, I'll get Ben to talk to you more about that. I'm just going to leave it at that. But yeah, it was great hearing from Ben again. Really put a smile on my face. And maybe we can even get Nick maybe back on the show again. That would be kind of fun. Anyway, and love your work as always. Well, that's sweet of you. Just want another of your 2 cents about something in regards to Flux. It is one of TRI's FA names. All right, well, if it's one of TRI's FA names, then you know that I'm not the person to talk to about this. I can talk to you about the technical picture, but I can't talk to you about the fundamentals. Would it be a good idea to start getting interested, taking a nibble if the weekly W does fire? Well, I just showed you that USDT. I mean, you want to talk about a piece of shit. I would say that's about as risky gets. It's putting in weekly W's. I would be happy to be long that thing from where we are. And oh, by the way, that is where we're long. So we just forgot to take profits on the last move. But anyway, okay, it is at or below RLZs for location. Good. And if that's the case, then little old ladies, and if you're talking about nibbling, then little old ladies have the green light to start nibbling away. That's probably the biggest thing that I need to see for me to say to little old ladies, you're okay going in there, is I want to see the asset trading back against the bottom end of its range. Confirmed devs, even better. Willie is stupid. I mean, geez, you're kind of answering your question on your own here. And it's still a bit early, but has confirmed weekly W on the clothesline, just not on the candlesticks. So that means that there was some sort of panic dump low on a tail. Got to be careful there because, we always say wicks and tails like to be eaten. If anything, it was interesting. We had the conversation in the lounge today. I think it was this morning. Somebody had thought that maybe there was like a monthly Bitcoin railroad tracks. And I was kind of like, you can't really call railroad tracks. Let's see where, I think I had the Bitcoin chart up here, didn't I? Where are you here? Bitcoin. There we go. You can't really call railroad tracks if you have a big tail. So the fact that there's these big honking tails here, that's not railroad tracks. I will say though, a lot of cryptocurrency, a lot of venture capital, you often see that the bottoms are railroad tracks in their truest form, i.e. we go straight down, then straight back up, recapture that level, and we never look back. Maybe we don't see this on a monthly chart, maybe on a weekly chart. Let's see what we got here. Can we find a railroad tracks fairly quickly and easily? Probably not. This one's not bad. So you can see boom, boom. Look at those lows. Solid reverse. I mean, this high is a little bit higher, so I wouldn't really call it a textbook railroad tracks. But notice how those tails are almost exactly the same. Then we accept back above and boom, look at the pop, right? Here's another one. So boom, boom. Look how the tails are almost exactly the same. Reversal, back up, pop. Here's one. This one's perfect, right? Look at that. Boom, boom. Look how those can. You often hear me talk about, candle body lows or trade location. Hey, is that our Nick? Is that Nick from Minnesota? I don't know whether that's our Nick. He used to be our show co-host, but we'd love to have you back. Anyway, Ben was wondering where you were. Anyway, there's a good example of railroad tracks. Notice no tail, right? Very little tail. So the fact that we have, and really I might even argue that's a half decent railroad tracks top there. But the fact that, and actually I don't even know, maybe on a weekly basis this looks good, but I don't think it does. What time is it? Oh, fuck. I got like 12 minutes. Yeah. And no, on the railroad tracks there. Can't call that there. I actually thought, to be honest with you, that was a pretty good railroad track failure there. And I was feeling pretty darn bearish when they ripped through this. So what do? Boom, straight back up, run those tops, boom, busted that pattern. But as I said, somebody in the lounge at TRI had said, well, that's railroad tracks. And I'm like, nah, I don't think so. Not with the size of that tail. What this does look like, though, if you are a bull, is this looks like a fractal, right? So fractal, in fact, there's even a cool little tool right on TradingView. I don't know whether I have it on here. I guess I don't, but you could go fractal. Right, and it says Williams fractals. There it is. Fractal. A whole bunch of people put tools, but this is built into the system. And if this does fire up through that high, then it will put a little red arrow kind of like this. That's a fractal there. This is technically a fractal there. This is a fractal top, right? So boom, boom, boom. If we finish this candle here today, actually, this is a monthly chart. So this won't happen until the end of the month. And this is what scares me, is that I think that they could very easily confirm this fractal here into the end of the month. And October, they run it up into that November event, then the undesirable happens to win the election, and this thing just gets absolutely smoked. So if anything, this is a really good example where fundamentals can make the technical picture look irrelevant very, very quickly. So unfortunately, in this kind of scenario, as I said earlier, I don't have any setups here. I mean, if anything, I do actually like the short, right? Because you can go, that's an M. I'm going to basically sell against that level there. And my stop loss is going to be against that high there. So, and then you also notice that there's an M within an M. So, ironically enough, that is not a bullish price chart as far as I'm concerned. As I said earlier on, if I'm a bull, I want to see a pullback. I would actually like to see a second pullback, and I get actually 3 higher lows to risk against because I'm a chicken shit. And I like to make sure that I've got lots of people defending my trade. But I don't have any of that right now. So, very, very difficult for me to be bullish of that. And unfortunately, in this kind of scenario, could they easily pop it up there and then bring it back down? Absolutely. And considering the high stakes of this political event, and then what I've told you about what the 1% is doing to the marketplace into this big political event to try and achieve their objective of getting the voters who go to the voting booth and say, well, yeah, everything's awesome, man. Life is great. Look at my 401k, right? And it's all a con job. So unfortunately, right now, my best advice to anybody, if I have any advice at all, is just leave this shit alone. Don't touch this. There was, as I had said there a few minutes ago, there was actually some pretty nice little buys. And I had to reboot my system, so I got rid of all my old charts because my computer blew up there again this morning. So I don't know whether I even have any of these things on here. Actually, that page right there would have been perfect. So, like at TRI, we have actually really cool algorithms now running. Thank God Stuart's finally got us to the point where we're actually building trade setups. So here, for example, these are some recent signals that we had on the trading system. And unfortunately, I don't have the trade notations here, which sucks, horse cocks. But the signal was on the 8th, right? And if anybody who's on the site knows when the breadth indicator turned back up and all that shit. So here's where the trade was, a fantastic trade location, basically at the bottom end of a trading range here for the past, 4 or 5 months. Beautiful indicator confirmation, W's right across the board, and of course, cute little bullish fractals. So the signal was spat up here, and here we are way up here. Is Brian going to tell you that it's okay to go and buy this thing here? No, not even, won't even remotely think that. Same thing about this Cotty. Love the signal here. So there was the 8th, and I think I showed you on the actual website. Well, anyway, I'm running out of time. Anyway, that was the buy signal there. You can see the W's and RSI. You can see W's, and actually this was a fractal. Nice trade location down at the bottom end of the range, and of course, boom, big move up. So unfortunately, I can't justify coming in and buying there. I mean, it looks cute. Let's fingers crossed it just keeps going, but I can't put on a new position there. So unfortunately, a lot of the market looks like that right now. Too early to be bearish, too late to buy. That's probably the way that I look at it. It's too bad too, actually, because I had some great Bitcoin charts, but like today's just a mess, so can't really show you those. I just work off of this just clean, simple chart here. All right, so the question was about flux. So, I mean, I can give you my technical 2 cents, but if you want commentary on the fundamentals, we need to get an update from Sjord. So there is your flux, beg your pardon. Yeah, that looks very respectable. And keep in mind, if Sjord's actually given this the fundamental green light, then at the very least, if you're a little old lady, you should go in and just grab some of this. But we all understand the risk model that the little old lady follows. And if you don't know it, get your ass in the school program. But considering the trade location we are right now, little old lady's got the green light to go and have a great old time. I think you can see off the daily chart, and probably if we put on like all the momentum indicators, yeah, you can see a higher low in MACD. She's even higher low in RSI, cute little W's in RSI. Willie got stupid over here. So actually interesting. You might even argue divergence in Willie as well. Divergence is not, isn't that interesting? So the divergence hasn't quite confirmed yet. I would probably call this a coil. So if you're trading this, then I think we are still building. And if anything, as I said earlier, I do like the idea that Mr. Trump's going to win this election. When I listen to social media, God, Cammie's not, she has not endeared herself with the public at all down in the States. They're all just constantly going, are you kidding me? Do you see how shitty our lives are right now? Get these fucking socialists the hell out of there. And I actually think that there's going to be another dump here in the market, but that's going to happen after the election. And I actually think it happens into like first, second quarter of next year. And I think it's going to be a horrific crash. And of course, they're going to blame Trump, but Trump's going to be like, so fucking what? I don't give a shit. Just doing our good old Colin and his pump chaser zone. I would say in the near term, very realistic that they pop it back up to value. I could see that. The only problem is from like sort of a risk taker's perspective. You can see where the W is. I love candle body lows for trade location. So wow, was that ever a killer level right there? I might argue that, with the W in there, we could do things like Foggenbaums. So heading back up top, 2.618. We're in that traffic. They did come back down and check the original breakout, and the original breakout failed. So I actually think that this pattern is now over. They're probably doing something along here now. So this would be my pattern. Interesting. 2.618 now basically aligns with the old 4.669s, which aligns with that low. So, and oh, what a big surprise. In our level 2 program, we teach volume profile, and we call that a nice MUOC. So I think that there's plenty of reason to look for this thing to pop up into things like 38.2s. 2.618, 4.669s, original horizontal support and resistance. Wicks and tails like to be eaten. All these trap bulls up here would love to get released. And you can tell that if we do pop up into this 3669 above value, that's probably where the rally is going to stall out if this continues. Having said that, this wouldn't be a trade I'd be interested in taking right here. What I would just simply say is, if you like this thing, from a trade, well, clearly that double bottom right there is your level. And interestingly enough, if we draw a reload zone against that breakout, oh, what a surprise. There's Mountain Man. There is that bottom level, Wyckoff check, blah, blah, blah. Wicks and tails like to be eaten. Maybe this is an inverted head and shoulders. I could go on and on and on and on. It's probably something like that. But the problem here is, can I buy that there? Nah, I don't think so. From a trade perspective. All right, little old ladies, I've often told you guys that over the past, if you just simply force yourself to come in and start acquiring with an average cost of 78.6, you're laughing. Because what'll usually end up happening is down the road, you'll look back and, let's see, somebody remind me to look at this a few months from now. You see that eventually the damn thing turns right off that 78.6 level. And you look back and you go, fucking hell, I did it again. So, little old ladies, I don't have a problem with you accumulating in here. You all understand the risk model of little old ladies, so I'm not going to go into that. From a trade perspective, no, I can't really buy it here. And if I did want to trade this thing, then it's just, there's the recent high. There is the reload zone. What an irony. It's the same level as this one, basically. So what that means to me is any kind of dips down into this area here, I could buy that and I'd be hunting the trade there. All right, there you go. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. All right. Hi, Brian. I recently watched an interview with a YouTuber with a popular trading channel. She was talking about the importance of increasing your position size on trades with the highest probability of success. According to her, she maximizes her profits by going really big on the best trades that only tend to occur a few times per year and being more conservative with her position sizing on what she considered average trades that happen more frequently. I know that you were a fan of limiting to no more than 5% per trade. I guess she could mean only risking 1 to 2 on average trades and risking a full 5 on trades she thinks could be huge winners. She didn't say how much she risked per trade, so it's hard to tell what she meant by this exactly. Do you generally agree with this approach? If so, how does one determine what constitutes a trade that's worth risking the maximum percentage of risk on? All right. Very good question. Excellent question. They always say you can always tell a professional trader because they actually add to winning positions as the trade is working in their favor. And the trade actually gets bigger and bigger and bigger as the trade just keeps working and working and working. But that's an incredibly advanced stage. I would probably agree with this kind of thinking. And I do like your approach. Maybe what you say is, average typical trade, especially if you're trading. Now, remember, 5%, this is the absolute maximum. You are never allowed to break this number. And usually, this is actually a good place for sort of like little old ladies to participate, where I would have, let's say, hypothetically, an account of 100,000. So that means by definition, we can throw $5,000 into a name. And her account might have 10 positions in it. So that means we've gone and spent half of her capital. The other capital is sitting what we call dry powder. It's just sitting in T-bills or money market fund or something like that. And if a really good idea comes along, we can always draw down a bit more, but it's a good idea to keep a good chunk of dry powder. Maybe in really hot markets, that gets drawn down to maybe 75% of that's invested and 25% is in cash. But the point here is any one position, you really shouldn't break that 5% risk. Now, what would typically happen for my Joe Sixpack customers is something like, we'll take that 100,000, we'll put 10,000, we'll put on 5 trades, and we can risk 50% of the position. It's the same math. But Joe Sixpack could get stopped out. Having said that, and that's actually a very typical, if you listen to Jim Cramer on CNBC, he typically says go and buy maybe 5 stocks, 4 stocks, whatever. You're loaded up. And you're just going to manage those positions. And if they go against you, you better have religion and cut your losses. And you're just always have a good chunk of your money invested in the market and in maybe 4 or 5 different names. And of course, you have a good chunk of powder dry just in case. I always say it's a good idea to have, good chunk of just cash in the account just in case shit happens. And shit does happen. Just get used to it. So I like the idea from a trading perspective that if maybe what you want to do is you want to say, start at a weekly chart. What's the trend on the weekly chart? If the trend is up, okay, well then let's drill down to a daily chart. What's the trend? Trend is up, okay. Drill down to a 4-hour chart. Trend is up. Okay, I'm getting a lot of signals that this thing's upping. Maybe I want to up that bet size. At the same time, too, I actually prefer, this is just me, that I always bet the same size. And then that way, I can actually go back and look and actually determine the accuracy of this setup and whether I'm actually making money. And I'll tell you, 9 times out of 10, I see this. I saw it myself. The trades that you up the bet size, guaranteed, are the trades that lose. It just always happens. And it's always at the very end of moves. where everybody's all bullish and people come out and say, oh, yeah, this is such a slam dunk easy win. And of course, those are the trades that lose. Those are the ones that, you've made a bunch of money because the market's moved up and you're like, okay, well, I could take a little bigger risk on this because the portfolio's moved up, and guarantee those are always the trades that lose. So I don't know. I mean, my input is, I don't know how many years experience this person has. My hunch is she's got a lot of years of experience. If this is like LBR, then what I'm actually trying to teach you in level 1 would be like, she would look at it and go, okay, that's a good basic place for people to start, but you're probably not ready to be a prop trader. You got a lot of miles ahead of you. I don't mind the idea that, if you actually vet a setup and you've seen the setup over your career work countless times, that you're at the point where you're kind of like, I've seen this happen so many times. I don't mind. Maybe even have like a side account where you're kind of like, this is my, for this particular setup, if it comes in, I give myself permission to take some extra risk. I don't mind that, but frankly speaking, for level 1ers, I don't think you're at that stage. You've got to get to the stage of being incredibly consistent. And hell, I even had a tutorial with a gentleman. We put together a package of tutorials for him. He's already taken the level 1, 2, and 3. And I had to go through and just make sure that he was doing the process correctly. And it turns out that, very first conversation, I'm like, why'd you take that trade? And he's like, well, I was trying something different that day. And yeah, it didn't work. No, you got to get rid of that shit. You have to trade the same setup. You have to go through the process. Do I have location? Do I have momentum confirmation? Do I have price structure? Go, right? Your 3 unrelated reasons. And you've got to build that consistency. Then you do that for, say, a full cycle in Bitcoin. You're sitting on just a ridiculously huge amount of money. Fine. And it's the market's money. Fine. You could go maybe after you've done a couple hundred trades and you're feeling pretty good about the process. You understand you've got actually enough data that you go, geez, when this setup comes in, man, I'm feeling pretty good. All right, go and just basically, take a little bit of that extra market's money. Don't take it out of your original stake because you're just asking for trouble getting greedy like that. But, if you have a little extra pile of the market's money, okay, I don't mind that. But I really don't think that level 1ers, you're even remotely close to that stage. And actually, it is 8 minutes past the top of the hour. Eddie's here saying he's taken off. And I think I better wind this up because I really don't want to be too late for Lily today. So why don't we circle back around? We'll have another session tomorrow, Monday, on the site, our Monday broadcast. And hopefully Brian's in a little bit better frame of mind. And we'll finish off with these last 2 questions. If you have any other questions, feel free to add them. And we'll circle back around and finish up this Q&A session tomorrow. All right. Okay, so let's leave it at that. PMA for the win. I really don't like the look of the market right now. So be careful with your hard-earned money. Don't chase, even something like this. I mean, if you're nanny nibbling, fine. But at the same time, too, if you're nanny nibbling, you're not watching the screen 24/7. You want to be a little bit sharper on your purchases and kind of like all those names that I was showing you that the system even told us were half decent ideas back here. Well, I can't really justify buying them now. If I was still interested in this fundamentally, I really wanted to get in on this thing, just draw your reload zones and let's wait for pullbacks into reload zones before you get too excited. And that's the message that I would tell anybody. So yeah, this thing could work its way higher, but at the same time too, I don't have a setup here to justify me coming in. Ironically enough, actually, this is a bot, but man, we won't open up that can of worms right now. I would just simply say to keep yourself out of trouble, keep it really simple, especially for the level 1ers. Let's just try and concentrate on reload zones. And I would actually recommend considering the eclipses, And considering the insanity of the politics of this world that we're in right now, I actually think it's probably a really good idea, to be perfectly honest with you, just to leave this shit alone for the next month or so. Ironically enough, you might see this thing pop right up. If you got in off of the lows, it's too bad I lost all those fucking screens because I had all the trades all mapped out here. All of these trades are sitting in risk-free positions right now. So it's not, and funny, we even have funny little names like Solana in Australian dollars that spat up a buy signal. This one actually is just still working. But you should all look at this and go, okay, well, I see where the W is. Can I come in and buy that there? And, all of you should say, well, that Beamish guy's going to get upset at me if I draw my reload zone and I see where the bottom is and I'm buying up here. So unfortunately, that's the state of the market. All right. Let's pick this conversation up tomorrow. Wish Liam the best karmic wishes possible. Wish Brian can keep a level head on his head. And he doesn't lose his shit, and just try and be the best support possibly can be for my baby. And all of you have a good rest of your day. All right. Okay, have yourselves a great day, all the West. Hugs and kisses. PMA for the win. Slow and steady wins the race. Don't take no win nickels. Sorry, level oneers. I did a half-assed job on being a substitute teacher today. But Grim should be back in the saddle next week, and we'll just pick up exactly where he left off. All right, all the best, and bye for now.